Everyone was in agreement, especially my aching body. The run in the forest was not a kind one. As everyone began to leave, however, Diana called out.
Sam, a moment please. Alone.
I was worried about what Diana wanted to speak to Sam about alone, but I left the room with the rest of the group regardless. Diana seemed adamant. However, I remained at the door, listening in.
So, you got me alone. What do you want?
I peeked into the room to see Diana faced away from Sam, who had his arms crossed and was waiting for her to speak.
Tomorrow is the day we head out to fight him. We've been fighting for 10 years, and it will finally end.
It's a really long-ass fucking time to be fighting a war.
You're stalling. What is it?
Do you know how many lives have been lost because of this war?
Sam finally lowered his arms and glared at the back of Diana's head. I glared as well. Why was she bringing this up? From her tone of voice, however, she seriously wanted an answer.
Hundreds? Thousands?
9.5 million lives.
Sam's breath hitched in shock, as did mine. That many lives had been lost? Was this war truly as bloody as the rebel leaders described it to be? Diana turned her head and stared into Sam's shocked gaze.
I had to send off and watch almost 9.5 million soldiers marching to their deaths. This world lost that many lives and had to take their blood and ashes into its soil as the battles we fought ended. The Demon Lord, however, ravaged and slaughtered thousands of innocent lives in between, sending more people to their deaths just because they were in his way.
Why are you telling me this?
All of those lives could have been spared.
Diana turned around and glared hard at Sam, and, to my surprise, Sam froze in place.
Every single life that was lost during this war could have lived, could have been leading normal lives.
Sam didn't open his mouth. Why wasn't he saying anything? I felt the need to step in, but I was stopped by a hand over my mouth.
Shh!
I looked up to see Damien covering my mouth and staring into the room silently. I didn't understand. Why was he hushing me? I looked back into the room as Diana began to step towards Sam.
My kingdom became the target of the Demon Lord's wrath, and I came back to the castle and my people screaming to the sky and burning in the flames. My family was taken away from me, and now the only person I had left in my life is missing, presumably dead.
My bad. I silently gasped, instantly thinking of Cero. He couldn't have been. There was no way. As Diana finally got close to Sam, leaning nose to nose with him, her eyes began to glow a cruel, cold, golden color, making me worry.
And it's all because of you, your brothers, and that human.
What?
Like lightning, Diana and Sam slammed into the far wall. However, instead of Diana against the wall, Sam was held against it, with Diana's hand over his mouth. What surprised me the most was Sam staring at Diana with almost a shocked and fearful expression. What the hell? Sam gripped Diana's arm, but for some reason she didn't seem to be affected by his strength, like he was gripping stone. Where did her strength come from?
I want to get it through your head that this war is your fault. Yours and that human's faults. My parents, my sister, their lives were ripped away from this world because of you two. My kingdom burned, drowned in the flames of the Demon Lord because of you two. Your brothers were too enthralled with the human world to give a damn about where they came from, so I could have never convinced them to come back. You were my only hope, and you decided that the human was more important than the peace of this world. Because of your love for her, you stayed in the human world and caused so much death.
I have to keep watching.
I want to burn that anger into your soul. Every single life that has been lost in this war to stop the Demon Lord was because of you and your love.
Diana's hand slowly moved from Sam's mouth to his collar and gripped it, pulling him up onto his toes. However, as they continued to stare at each other, Sam's eyes began to glow a bright red and gold color, the mixture swirling in his green irises.
This war wasn't.
Yes, it was!
Diana quickly pulled Sam forward and slammed him back into the wall, causing him to jerk and wince, growling but continuing to stare at Diana's angry expression. Around Diana's body was a dark purple aura, flickering like wildfire with her screams.
If I had just killed that human and dragged you back, the world would not be suffering as it is! If that human wasn't alive, then the Demon Lord would not have done what he did! If you and your brothers had just stayed, this war would not have happened!
We're gonna end it!
We will! And when this war is over, I will never have to see you or that damn human ever again!
Ouch. I stared wide-eyed as Diana lowered her head down and slightly loosened her grip on Sam's collar. Her back was arched over, twitching and spasming, as Diana gritted her teeth.
That is why you two must survive.
What?
Diana's voice weakened immensely, drenched in softened, choked sobs and whimpers.
You two need to survive this war. You need to protect her. And stay alive, no matter what.
My heart dropped, but my mind was lost. Where was this coming from? I felt Damien loosen his grip over my mouth slightly as I watched Sam straighten up and look down at Diana. The aura around Diana slowly began to die out with each word Diana choked out.
If either of you die, then this war will have happened for nothing. All of those lives, all of this destruction. The only reason we are here is because of you two.
Diana.
Diana looked up to Sam, a new hopeless pain burning in her eyes as tears began to stream down her face.
Swear to me, Brute, that you will take responsibility for this and live, no matter what happens. Damn the war, damn my life. But you must swear that you understand and will take this responsibility.
My heart was hurting at the sight of Diana. She looked so broken, barely gripping to Sam and no longer forcing him against the wall behind him. Sam, however, pressed his lips together. What was he going to do? Sam, staring at Diana's expression, slowly grabbed onto both of Diana's horns and pulled Diana's head downward, pressing his forehead to the top of her head.
I swear.
For the first and only time in my life, I watched Diana crumple to the ground onto her knees with Sam following her down. Diana's hands released Sam and covered her face before she started sobbing violently into her palms. Sam kept his hands on her horns, pressing his forehead onto... Sam kept his hands on her horns, pressing his forehead into the top of her head with closed eyes. Red energy from Diana's body slowly began to slide along her form and into Sam's head, slowly wrapping around him and fading away. I stepped away from the door and looked to Damien, seeing him look down at the ground in shame. Damien?
It is our fault, but we can't change the past. We can only end this.
I nodded, feeling the weight of the world rest on my soul. I nodded, feeling the weight of the world rest on my soul. In a way, I felt completely responsible for this war ever happening. I loved Sam enough to keep him away from his duty, his reason for birth. I had chained him to me, and I wouldn't let him go. I looked back to Diana, seeing her shaking and crying as Sam continued to remain still holding her horns. The energy had vanished, and all that was left were the tears Diana was shedding. Did Sam take her energy?
Sam took away her rage.
Wait, what? I looked up at Damien, confused. He was an incubus, so he was only able to take away sexual energy, right? He could take other forms of energy too? Sam can do that?
Yes, actually. While he's an incubus, he's also part brute demon, just like the rest of us.
I was surprised. Sam was part brute demon? So were the boys? Damien chuckled softly, assumingly because he read my mind, and nodded.
Our mothers were succubi. The demon lord, though, he's no incubus. He's a brute demon who feeds on and uses rage energy.
Damien looked into the room, losing part of his smile.
Sam, our brothers and I were born incubi, but Sam inherited more brute demon traits than the rest of us. Thus, why he had the nicknames Brute and Monster.
Because he wasn't like a regular incubus? Damien nodded. I looked to Sam, seeing him stare into Diana's scalp with a focused but intense expression. The more I thought about it, the more I could see what he meant.
Sam never got into the idea of taking and using sexual energy. He was angry all of the time in the demon world, so he fed on rage energy instead. It wasn't until he went to the human world with us when he began to rely on his incubus powers.
I could only imagine it. Sam, who hated his father and was the rebel son of the Incubi brothers, full of anger. That was probably why he was so forward when we had met and full of attitude. Still, I fell in love with him. He was truly a wonderful man. He did everything he could to make me happy and feel safe. He always put me first, which flattered me and made me feel incredibly special. I didn't know what to say to that. Diana eventually stopped crying and wiped her tears from her face, but she didn't raise her head. Damien, who I thought would have stayed longer, disappeared, leaving me alone to watch.
Sam, if I die, would you?
Would he what? I stared, hoping that Diana would reply with a clearer question, but she merely closed her eyes and let out a small sigh. Suddenly, the noise in the room became silent, but I could see Diana's lips move. Sam's eyes widened as she finished speaking, but he didn't say anything back, even as Diana looked up at Sam. When Sam finally reacted, he let out a small sigh and spoke back, the sound of his voice negated through whatever silence engulfed the room. As my body began to collapse, I watched as Diana listened and nodded with a smile, before fading into the ground through a dark pentagram. Sam, however, remained there, staring where Diana had been, and took in whatever she had said. Upon the demand of my body, I began to make my way towards the bedroom, not wanting Sam to know I had been eavesdropping.